Today, we're visiting part of Golden Age Development's free West of England Phase 2 route. Starting with an LSWR T9 class 440 approaching Axminster with a passenger train bound for Salisbury. It's a quiet day at Axminster, with 2 locomotives parked in the yard. Meanwhile, LSWR Adams Radial Tank number 30583 is waiting for passengers from the T9's train before heading down the Lyme Regis branch. Axminster railway station was built by the London and South Western Railway and opened with the West of England main line in 1860. It used to be a junction station for the Lyme Regis branch, but more on that later. These days, the station is still open, and is served by Class 159 DMUs running services from London Waterloo to Exeter St David's or vice versa. The current state of Axminster station is a far cry from what we see in Train Simulator. Now it's time for 30583 to head off to Lyme Regis. Almost immediately after leaving Axminster, the branch line crosses the West of England main line on a flyover. And it isn't long before the railway starts climbing uphill at a staggering 1 in 40. The Lyme Regis branch ran from Axminster in Devon down to the seaside resort of Lyme Regis in Dorset. It was only 10.57 kilometres long, and opened by the London and South Western Railway in 1903. The line has always been known for its bizarre motive power requirements, as a result of the combination of the severe ruling grade of 1 in 40, curves that were sharp enough to twist an engine's frames, and very tight axle loading restrictions. Initially, The LSWR acquired a pair of ex-London Brighton and South Coast Railway A1 Terrier locomotives to run on the line, but they proved to be too underpowered. Next, they tried their own Adams O2 class 044 tanks, but these engines had issues with twisted frames, amongst other problems. In order to comply with the severe axle loading restrictions, the O2s could only run to Lyme Regis with their water tanks no more than half full. In 1913, the LSWR brought two of the 0415 class 442 tank engines, otherwise known as the Adams Radial Tanks, over to the branch. This class had a unique radial trailing axle, which assisted with negotiating tight curves, although I can't remember exactly how the system worked. Although numbers 125 and a 520 were hardly spring chickens at this point, having been built in 1885, they proved quite successful on the Lyme Regis branch. In 1946, a third Adams Radial Tank, which had previously been sold from the LSWR to the East Kent Railway, was reacquired by the Southern Railway and brought to the Lyme Regis branch to help out her classmates, as they were quite worn out by this point. This third engine was the former number 488, and along with 125 and 520, she survived well into the British Railways era. This is Compine, the only intermediate stop on the branch. It's here where we finally reach the end of the 1 in 40 climb up from Axminster. The engine made light work of the climb, especially given that she was only hauling 2 coaches. After the 1 in 40 descent down from Compine, we reach the Cannington Viaduct, which was the only major structure on the branch. The viaduct is 186 metres long with 10 arches, and it's most notable for the bizarre jack arch that was added to the third arch to improve stability after an incident during construction. As we arrive at Lyme Regis, we see 30582, formerly LSWR number 125, parked outside the little engine shed. Lyme Regis is a small town overlooking the English Channel. As of 2021, the town has a population of 3,741 people, but I don't know what the population was when the railway was still open. The railway station was located in a rather inconvenient spot high above the town centre, as the land just beyond the buffer stops falls steeply away towards the sea. For the longest time, the Adams Radial Tanks were the only engines that ran to Lyme Regis due to the lack of any other suitable locomotive types. But in 1959, some of the curves were eased, and then in 1960, an LMS-designed IVIT 2MT class 262 tank engine was tested on the branch, and proved to be successful. They soon took over from the ancient 442s, occasionally being supplemented by the newer British Railways standard class 2MT tank engines. As for the Adams engines, they kept going a little while longer after the first IVIT trial, but they were ultimately withdrawn in 1961. At the time, the most recent withdrawal of an Adams Radial Tank was in 1928, when the former number 486 bit the dust. Sadly, 30582 and 30584, formerly numbers 125 and 520 respectively, were scrapped, but 30583, formerly 488, was saved for preservation by the Bluebell Railway, as she was in the most original condition out of the three. She is still on Bluebell metals today, and earned a bizarre claim to fame in 1981, when she featured prominently in the music video for a Sheena Easton song named Morning Train, parentheses 9 to 5. 10 years later, in 1990, 488 ran under her own power for the last time, but her class has since been captured in model form by Oxford Rail and Hornby. Disappointingly, the models only represent the East Kent Railway, Southern Railway, British Railways, and preservation eras. As for the Lyme Regis branch itself, it remained open for a few more years after the withdrawal of the Adams Radial Tanks. Diesel railcars took over from the IVIT and BR standard 2MT tank engines in 1963, but the branch would eventually close in November 1955, as one of many lines that fell under the infamous Beeching Axe. The old station at Lyme Regis is now long gone, but the Cannington Viaduct still stands today. And with that, we've reached the end of our look at Caledonia Works' Adams Radial Tank in action on the Lyme Regis branch. Just based on the quality of the Lyme Regis branch alone, I can easily recommend trying this freeware route from Golden Age developments for yourself. I'd like to finish the video with some shots of bullied Pacific number 34020 Seaton going up the branch from her namesake town.